Us. Onegaishimasu.
Onegaishimasu.
Okay. So just loosen off the body. Go front and back. Like. Okay, side to side. And rotation. And nice big wave through the spine. Okay, just letting the body drop forward and just first working, let the arms swing through front and back. Nice and release through the whole spine. Okay, across side to side. And just working the arms in circles. See if you can go both directions with the arms. You can do that way. And then the last one, just let a big wave pass through. Just let the arms follow. And they're going to kind of figure of 8 in the ground. And then just starting to draw the body up nice and slowly. Drawing up. And just keep the motion. Going at the top. Nice figure of 8. Nose. And then just working into this vertical swing. Nice. Releasing through the knees. Nice. And twisting the hip. Rotating through the shoulders. And the other way. And shake the arms out. And then the legs. Okay. Just let the whole body go. Okie-dokie. Okay, take a bokken. We will go. Okay, just go straight in for 𝒊𝒏𝒈. Nice and slow. Just getting into the Nice, good. Good. Just play a little bit with when you come from the cut, so the raise of the sword from this position. You're in a really good position to fully engage the hip in. The sword really feel like it's in the ground. And then just feel from this position, not that there's a movement here and then up, but just feel that the pressure from the foot is released. And this raises the sword up and the down is ground. So just play a little bit with this. You can also do this very kind of shallow, but just feel that there's really a pressure that's released from the ground there, and then this raises up the sword. So get this feeling, there's a kind of impulse into the ground, and then as you release it there, and it's going to fully go into the back leg, so you're kind of pressurizing from the back or into the back as you go up there. And it comes down there. So you go from this really 50-50 stable base right in the middle, and then just feel that it's released from the ground. And then into the ground, release, and you want to catch that motion into the arms, there, and then back in. Just play with it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So it's got a little bit of feel like hitting a trampoline without the kind of instant rebound. We'll do that, and you can do that next, but just feel it's kind of static and then gets pulled up. Static, gets pulled up. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and if you think also, this is really like a kokyu work. So what you're doing is something like that with the wrist. So the wrist is really mobilizing through that movement. If I do that with the arm like this, then I basically, I don't pass the movement from the hip fully into the spine, from the hips. So, or if I do something like that, I'm basically just contracting into the bicep and then pushing the sword up. So get the feeling what you're doing is something a little bit more flexible. So again, it's getting this, even though it's a very static movement, you're doing 1-2, really feel that it's got some flexibility in it. So especially in the wrist, as you raise up, try and see if you can pass that flexibility all the way to the tip of the sword. There, in. And just watch for something like that, or that, but the arm's basically kind of stuck a little bit. See if you can open the joints up a little bit, especially the wrist. this kind of motion. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Feel a little bit like the sword's floating up. So it's a kind of floating up from the hip. Yeah, great, good. And then just take the same feeling into Zengo, so keep that flexibility, and then keep the idea of releasing into the ground, and let the wrist now also flex through it. So there's a real flexion happens through the whole body. So you've got this into the ground, it's nice and solid, and then release it over the top. Release it over the top, and let it kind of spring over, down, spring over, down, and keep a real sense of flexibility. Again, especially in the wrist. Elbows, just let them kind of fall down. Let the wrist really flex. And you've got these kind of Kokyu movements that we're doing all the time. These kind of motions. Once. 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 Wash. 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 Good. And then just work with this extra rotation that you get in Shiho. And if you want, take it into Happogi. But just now really working on this also, this rotation. So you've got a much longer rotation now, and you want to keep that flexibility all the way through the rotation and then into the cut. But just really feel that that rotation is nice and flexible. It should be really kind of supple. Again, coming from the ground first. So just play with it a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you want to take it into Happo, just go with it. Whoosh. Whoosh. There. There we go. That's it. Great. Good. And then we're playing number 2. Just do it in 2 directions. So you've got the second through here. The first rolling up here, sending the hip in, and then from here just rotate underneath it. You've got this rotation now, straight into the Jodan-kamai. And if you want, you can continue with that pattern or just step back and do the rotation, do the step back again. So you've got 1, 2, and then 3. Roll up into Jodan-kamai. Cutting in and back. Coiling the hip back. Sending it in and then coiling it around. And then in. Whoosh. Whoosh. Nice, good. Okay, we'll play with number 3. So if you can't go to this vertical position, I'm just going to come to here. Nice deep breath in. Let the sword drop to the spine, to the back hip. Here, and then release it through here. This one. Now, from this position, you've got the cut in. Release it in by going from the back foot. So you go into the sword and then raise it up this way. So the footwork from here is a big irimi tenkan. So you go from the back, in, draw the sword to the center, and then press it up at this point, this way, as you can make the rotation. If you want, you can keep repeating it, or again, just do 2 cuts, and then back to the beginning, raising up, dropping into the hip, and then in. Whoosh. Whoosh. Nice. Good. We'll just work with it straight into number 6. So you go back like this, strike in, thrust in, and just do this 2 directions. You strike, ski, strike, ski, strike, ski, strike, ski. And just getting this kind of same compression from the foot. So really that the swords release from the feet. H. Was. Sh. Ush. Was. Was. Ush. Was. Was. Ush. Was. Yeah, see, a little bit trickier to find. See if you can find the same kind of vibration that you get here, like letting the hands come together here. See if you can find it here. It needs a kind of release out and then a snapping onto it. But see if you can see if you can get the feeling from the center, from the hands, right to the tip of the sword. So you feel you've got it in the 𝒂, you've got it also here. So there's really a kind of power coming from the center. Squeezing through the hands, squeezing through the hands, squeezing through the hands this way. That is basically just pushing the arms out. So just get a sense, feel you can press something out, press something out, press something out, press something out. It's the same kind of movement we use with these kind of feeling. But because it's horizontal, it's a little bit easier to find, maybe. There, and also both sides. There, 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 there. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Good. And then once you've got that, if you can get that snap, see if you can get it now. You basically go 1, 2. Now see if you can basically bring this together so you get gung like this. So you get this. So that you basically follow that motion. So the squeeze sends through to the next one. Goes straight into this one. So something like that, but you want something really flexible. And again, it's going to be something coming from the center through the hands. The first thing to feel is you just ride off that initial impulse, so you get goes into it. So the first thing to get is that, and then into the second. Let's see if you can. You want to basically ride off that initial impulse of the strike. Yeah. Okay, yeah, just watch. There's 2 things that can happen in this case. One thing is I start to push out with the arms, and then I do something like that. So I basically split from the center. So if I push out, I will get, the movement will actually just pull the body out, and then you'll feel something actually happens here. The neck will get kind of pulled out, a little bit like kind of whiplash. The other one is I don't really commit to the 𝒂, so I do something like that. So I basically pull the sword into the center, and then I don't have the initial impulse to ride off. So it's a fine line, but you need something where you can get the impulse, catch the impulse, catch the impulse, catch the impulse into this. But the moment I do that, it's going to pull me out. And the moment I do that, I've got nothing to kind of ride off. So just also really play with, don't feel it every time you need to find the ski. But I need to really commit to the curve. That. And then it will go into it. Just feel if you can. You basically want a really committed first strike, and then the second just comes off it. Boom. Yeah, that's it. It's one of those paradox things. You need to do less to get it, which is kind of tricky. The more I try and look for it, the more it will kind of elude me. You want to do something there. There we go. Oh. Yeah. There we go.
Michael?
Yeah. Sure.
I have a strange technical question.
Excellent.
So is it feeling in a way like I do the cut, I do the grip, I release, I do the
thrust.
The thrust, the ski, and then I do the grip again. So there is something like cut, grip, release, thrust, grip. With this.
Yeah, think about, rather than thinking about so much a grip, think about an impulse coming from the center. So don't think so much like don't think cut, don't think too much cut, grip, release, thrust, grip. This is a little bit stacked, but get this feeling of like an impulse coming from the center. So you want the feeling like that. Now, in order to go from this impulse to that impulse, there needs to be a release in between. So think about like an impulse or a pulse through the system. So like a gung. Oh, it's tricky because we've got like, what we're doing is like a gripping motion, but what you're doing is like a releasing motion. So there needs to be a kind of this, that. So, but because what you're doing is from the center, so think of it as the center is basically sending an impulse to the hand, something like that. But it's kind of this impulse, release it impulse. It's something like that.
Great, thanks.
Give it a try. Yeah, there we go. Good, and then we'll go to 7. So just look for the same thing again. Start with a few really static or really basic cuts. You come into there, I really settle into the ground, and then come into here. So again, this skill to kind of go to this flexible stage is really grounded in this kind of stage. So getting this stage very clear is, it's not really in a way optional. So it's getting this very clear, settled in the ground, and then coming into it. So really feel that every stage of the movement, even though it's very simple, getting the cut settled into the ground and then release it. And just feel like from before, especially as you go into the ski, the movement's released from the footwork. That, straight into it. And if you want, you can go into Zengo, straight to the back, straight in. That comes through. Yeah. I heard someone describe this once. It was in a book, but they described it like if you were holding a cobra by the tail. So if you pinned a cobra by the tail and you were to release it forward, it would go like this. So the feeling is this, that I'm really hinging the sword from the base. So in this case, this hand's really going to be the kind of anchor for the sword again. So feel that in this case, the tricky thing is getting the sword across the hip. So getting it to this hip, and then really finding that kind of focus from the rear hand to this hip as you go in. So just feel something's really going to be released through it. So it's not just about anchoring in the hip. This will in a way kind of trap the movement. Think about anchoring and releasing it. So you want to pin it not pin it to the center, but you want to anchor it to the center. And then let it release through it. So the ski should also be a kind of release. The cuts are released. The ski's also a release out. See if you can get this kind of feeling again. It's anchored, grounded, but also it's got a kind of release out. Yeah. That's it. Nice. Very good. Whoosh. Great. We'll just look at a little bit of slicing movement. So we've got the similar kind of movement that we've got with the ski, or the same kind of dynamic. You're going to really now open it out to the side. So first starting with a shomenuchi down, and then slicing out to the side this way. Around about 90 degrees, but don't be too concerned about the angle. It comes here. Let the foot now roll to the outside, and let the sword just snap, follow it. So you've got quite a big movement with the hip. Just let that transfer into the sword. And trying to pass the feeling from the center right to the tip of the sword and further out. So go down, in, and then release it. Down, in, release it. Goes this way. Yeah. Nice. Whoosh.
Michael,
Yeah, sure.
when you do, after you've done that slicey cut, where do your hands end up? As in, I mean, are they like in terms of in relation to your body? Is it like quite far out, or is it?
I don't want to be too far out, because think also about what you're going to do next. So it will be, we'll do a next move next, but what I don't want to is too far out this way. So I don't want to be like, I don't want to be here, somewhere like this. So really kind of far away from the body, because everything I've got to do now is to draw it back into the center to get to it this way. So I don't want to be too far out, but I don't want to be too tight to the body. So I don't want the sword to be somewhere like this. So I want to be fully extended, but really feel that it's anchored into the hip. So the hip's the kind of guide for it. So as long as I feel that the arms are basically being pulled away from the hip, this is basically too far. If I feel like it's just trapped, it's too close. So just look for that right spot where it just feels that extended, the shoulders fully extended, but not being stretched out and not kind of clamped down. Okay. It's got that kind of quality. So again, the hip's the kind of guide for it. You've got that kind of that. And as soon as I go, it's a bit trapped.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah, great. Whoosh. Yeah, just watch with the hip work. So obviously you can play with all these because this is solo work, and they go somewhere else. So if you go somewhere else with the hip, the next move is also going to go somewhere else. So none of these are especially wrong, but just watch for something, in this case, like pulling the hip back this way, or the other one is letting the hip go too far out. So somewhere that now that's not a problem. I would just follow the hip. So I go somewhere like that. So there's no real mistakes you can make with this. Only in terms of finding a good structure, but in this case, just think that you've still got the relationship to the front. So you've got this and then this. So you're going to basically slice across the side, but keep the focus basically still here. That goes here. So my center is basically going to remain focused on the initial line or the initial engagement forward. Keep this connection here. This. So you're basically cutting off at a wedge, and this the body's going to go off at a 90 degree. So you're going to go here, here, into this position, but not, in this case, fully engaged out. That's it. Yeah, exactly. Very good. And then just add one movement into it, which is just a yokomanuchi. So you go here, down, across, and then you're going to step. If you imagine again, that's the line. You're going to wedge yourself back in and cut into it this way with the yokomanuchi. Terrible footwork. That's right. Goes here, 1, 2, like this, and then roll it through this way. You're going to wedge off to the line. So you would do something like this. Goes down, across, and then wedges through. So you're kind of cutting a triangle. Down, across, and then in this way. So the first cuts are diagonal. Down. Sorry, the first cuts are really vertical. The second cut is across horizontally, and the second cut is a diagonally straight in this way.
Thank you very much, Mike. See you
Hey,
later.
Ella, see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And the first and the third cut, they are yokomens.
You can do these as either yokomen or shomen.
Okay.
If you want to keep it very simple, keep it as a shomen. So then you've got a very clear kind of vertical. But you could do this also with the yokomen as well.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, terrible. Yeah, also watch this. This is also think of this as a kind of setup. So it's really important how you land this foot as you go into the slice, because this is the foot that you're going to compress into to go forward. So just think carefully about how you place the foot as you go. So you've got this footwork, again, release into this foot, this, and then just notice how you drag this foot up. So you want the hip to be in a really comfortable position. This, so that it can just kind of initiate the next movement. So just focus on, again, these kind of compression patterns and where the foot basically lands for the base of the hip. So if it's too far out, I'm too far into this side, I will basically have to push out again this way. But you want to feel a direct connection down. But you can go straight into that next cut. So just focus a little bit on that. The foot's collected, or the hip's collected, and then I can just press into it this way. So something very efficient as you go.
Michael, are you facing the same direction at the end of the movement as when you first started?
I'm cutting the same line, but I'm not technically on the same direction. So the first cut's like this, and then the second cut's here, and then the third cut's here, off at a wedge. So I'm going towards the line. I'm going back towards that original line, but I'm not going the same direction, kind of forward into it, and kind of wedging, cutting across it. So it's here, this, and then I'm going to go that way into this way.
Thank you. I think that makes a lot of sense when you show it in front of the camera with the direction of your bokken.
Good. Yeah, think like a triangle. So you've got like that,
yeah,
the back of the triangle, and then the wedge back in. It's like a triangle. Yeah, there we go. Great. Good, we'll try the other side. So you go now left side. So keep the initial cuts the same, right side. And then what you do is you go off to the left side, slice out. Now, what you can do, make it easy, is just go back onto the left side and cut in here, this way, on the left side. But if you want, you can also make this into a bigger movement. So you can make it, yeah, this, and then stepping through the line, cutting to the rear this way. So choose which one you want to do, or you can mix in both. You've got 1, 2, and then if you want, you can just step, wedge across, left side, cut, or make it a little bit bigger. 1, 2, 3, goes right to the back. So just play with this. It's basically wedging triangles. 1, 2, 3. And that was it. 1, 2, 3. Wait, there's a way down. Yo! Whoosh! Oh, terrible. Was. Was. No. Yeah, also possible. There we go. Okay, think a little bit in this case. These are forms. Sometimes we use these for like a two-man attack. So you've got 2 people, one in front, one behind. So this initial cut is just an establishing a center line. Now, as you wedge off the line, imagine you're here. The person in front is going to attack here onto this point. So what I can't do in this case is something like this, and basically turn my back to that person. So what you've got to do is basically cut back across the line. So you go here, here, and then you're going to get cut here. So think that I need to leave this line. So I need to go in through and do something like that. Or the other one we've done there is this. So I need to get to the back of the person. So you've got 1, 2, and then I can't just do that in this case. I will basically end up back to back with the other person. So think a little bit about, get solo work, so it's a little bit tricky to kind of get it. But you can really get the sense that this line is now, it's not possible to hold this line. So I need to really move off it and go somewhere else. So just think about the position you're in. A lot of this stuff is about kind of flexibility in terms of the angles, but just think about moving off the line and really taking the whole body with it. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So nice. Great. Okay, we'll just finish a little bit of empty-handed work. So we'll just go straight into this kind of Morotodori movement. So this is the best one in terms of this feeling of impulse and releasing it out. So the first movement, you're going to go in, find the coil here. Now, what you want to feel is this impulse from the front foot. What becomes the front foot? You release it and send it out this way. So get the same feeling we got in the sword work. You penetrate into the ground, here, hips engage, and then really feel it's released out from the back this way. So just get this idea of hitting the ground here, this. Make it a little bit more flexible. This. So it's this really, again, it's grounded in this kind of stable form, or this really Kihon form. That. Feel where the ground is, that. Goes in. And then if you want, just make it a little bit more flexible. That. So there's kind of a totally an impulse comes from the ground into the hand. That's it, nice. That's it. Nice. Yeah, again, difficult to imagine the partner, but imagine what you're trying to do is really send an impulse to the other person as well. So you're trying to get that impulse and basically take it away from the ground. So I'm trying to send the impulse that I'm doing into my base, this, so that I can basically send it out. And what I'm doing with the uke side is I'm trying to send that impulse away from the body. So they get like go, they get this kind of moment. And then what happens is that I basically feed off that impulse. So there's a kind of response that will happen in the body, which is like try and pull back into the center. So you want to feel that comes out to it. So this comes in and that goes into it. We use this quite a lot if you think about kaitenagi. You get this impulse and then you use it. You get this impulse and then you use it. So sometimes we're doing this kind of work. And just focus, you can focus a little bit on in Morotodori. This goes in, impact, and out. Impact, and out. Yeah. Nice. Very nice. And then one move makes this really kind of explicit. You do the same beginning, this. So you've got that kind of move, and now rather than impulse from the back, from the front foot, you go from the back and slice out this way. So we like this kind of slicing work we do with the sword work. This, and then this, and then this. Sends through with the backhand. So you do 3 movements. You've got 1, 2, 3. Like this. And you want obviously something flexible, but just get this feeling of where the impact point is. There's especially an impact point now at the end. Through. So let's see 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it's a little bit of a longer form. You basically carry the impulse away from them now. Yeah. Okay. Yes, yeah, it did try quite tricky to feel like what you're trying to do now is get that impulse this, and then you're trying to basically turn it around. So the person, rather than feel like that gets now that, they get drawn totally out. And then your target for that last movement is the elbow. You're going to press through the elbow, through the structure. So you want to feel that, and then that I wind the person out of the structure. That, and then goes in this way. So you're really trying to totally lead the person away from their own structure. That. And then just play a little bit more flexibly. This. And in this form, we've not got really time, but you've got a big kinonagari movement which just rolls around. This. Goes through this way. And then the kinonagari is much rounder. That's it, very nice. Exactly. Great. Very nice. Great. So if I get kind of lost with these kind of things, or kind of losing the kind of structure, or what's the intention kind of, I always go back to these kind of movements with the sword. So they're very simple movements, these kind of raising movements, and these kind of 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒏 movements, and these slicing movements. And they really are what's kind of informing the kind of taijutsu that we do. So these kind of movements that we make, these movements that we make, these movements that we make, these movements that we make. Try and feel all the time they're kind of infused with this kind of the same structure we use in the weapon work. So it's always kind of playing with the weapon to kind of feed back in to the taijutsu, and vice versa. Trying to get some kind of flexibility in the weapon work as well with that. Okay. So we'll bow out. That's it. So, どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
Thanks a lot.